Hello, hello, hello. I'm Sam.
I'm Brandon.
And this is the Middleton Methods podcast, where you get to be a fly on our wall to get practical tips, gain insight, and laugh at our expense.
Alrighty, let's do it. Let the laughing begin.
Oh, wow. That's a little dramatic there, Brandon.
Start us off with our Middleton Madness segment of the week.
Middleton Madness. Well,
Father's Day special.
Father's Day. Let's just talk about Father's Day. It was like a day of madness, which like a beautiful madness.
It's always beautiful madness. Let me pause for 1 second though and just say how unbelievably humbled and grateful I am to have a Father's Day. And yesterday, Monday, they did the Father's Day breakfast at the kids' school.
Yeah.
And like every time these little like moments happen, I am like kind of in awe because I didn't grow up with that, right? I didn't have those experiences. I mean, I had a couple of times I got the Father's Day thing with my grandfather, but my dad not being around, like, I'm like, it's that important. It is that important. I don't know, not to bash the dads out there, but I don't know how you can miss this stuff because it's pretty beautiful. So not big on holidays.
Selfishness, that's how.
It's not. So I'm selfish. Oh
no, the dads that miss
I was selfishly
things like
enjoying
this.
my Father's Day. I'll tell you that.
Right. Okay, so let's hit up this Father's Day because I always get a little like stressed out coming up to Father's Day and stuff because I have to think about it's the same. You know how it feels. It's Mother's Day last month, and you have to figure out what the heck are you doing for me. But we like different things, and we like to do things different ways. So, I mean, we can only have so many handprints of the kids, or so many handmade cards before it's like, all right, we've exhausted that. So, I'm racking my brain because we've been super busy. I'm trying to figure out what to do for you. I know technology-wise that you want a couple different things. So I'm like, all right, well, maybe I'll just go get him his new laptop or, those are like really easy, low-hanging fruits that I could go grab onto if I need it. And then I was like, hey, actually, I wasn't like, hey. You were like, hey, I want to have a couple friends over and their kids and like, go in the pool and have a barbecue, and I am still like, flexing my hostess muscles. So, we just moved into this house less than a year ago. We've had more get-togethers here than we have our entire relationship of 16 years. We've had more in the past 11 months than we have the whole other 15 years we've been together at our own house where like we've been the host. So, at first I'm like taking a deep breath to name all these reasons why we probably shouldn't. And then I was like, oh, it's Father's Day. All right, babe, sure. That's what you want. That's what we'll do. But let me tell you, pulling together something like that for you, like super last minute.
I forget how like it is. You have to be like on. Like to me, I'm like, just want to relax by the pool. Let everybody. Next time we do like sandwiches or something like. There's just a bunch of food out and like just grab what you want when you want.
I kept this as easy as possible. I made a salad and I prepared some asparagus to throw in the oven and we bought some meat to throw on the grill. Like it didn't get
Well, it doesn't help that I'm not like the master griller either. So I'm just like...
No, you're the worst
I'm not thinking things got to cook and they're going to be done at the same time. We had lamb and chicken and burgers and everything cooks differently.
Yes, okay, so let's be specific. We didn't go and buy all these different meats. We had some friends come over with some allergies and stuff. So there was like a whole slew, like we like to do it potluck style that we've learned through this first year of hosting that potluck style is the best way to go. Everybody brings a dish. I buy less and less over time and stop thinking that I have to prepare 8 things because there's going to be plenty of food when people are coming over.
Yep.
Trust me, there's going to be plenty of food if you host a potluck. And so now it's just more, all right, I still have to like entertain and chase around the kids, and we want to make sure like we all have kids that are like under 5 years old, right? Yeah. So it was 6 kids to 6 adults, and 1 kid was at least 12, so at least we had that. But every other child that was over the house was 4 and under, so we had 5 kids 4 and under. That's just madness. That's
big
madness.
Shout out to and we had a mermaid in our pool.
Oh, that was so cool.
Yeah, the 12-year-old, she was a trip, man. She was
So
like
mature.
12
What a
going on
beautiful girl.
21.
Oh, I love her.
She held it down. She helped with the kids, and
She was playing with the
she
kids.
was
Peyton
live
just
entertainment
loved
for
her.
a while. She brought this like what was it? It's like a swimsuit.
I
At the
guess
bottom
it's
is
a
like a
fad
mermaid.
now that we don't know. We're not privy to because we have young kids. But like there's like a thing. Like you go on Etsy and you can buy like a mermaid, a swimsuit that's
It
a
was
mermaid
awesome.
tail. And so she puts this thing on and literally is swimming around our pool with the mermaid tail on. We had a real live mermaid in the pool. It was so cool.
Peyton was cute. She's like, it's like Ariel.
She asked me for one.
That's awesome.
I told her, keep practicing at your swim lessons.
So that was the beautiful madness.
Yeah, and it was great. We had, so even though everything is like crazy, and I mean, I got to be on point all day to make sure that everybody's happy and has what they need. I feel like I'm ignoring people all day too, because like somebody will be in the middle of a conversation and I'll hear a child and be like, oh, excuse me, and I'll just like run away to go help the kids. So the
Especially
beauty,
with the pool, that adds like another layer of like
stress and anxiety.
onness.
Like
Yep.
craziness. I just said, just put the swimmies on the kids, please, because I can't like be fearful that they're going to drown all day. And I didn't want to be in the pool all day. Yeah, so
Happy Father's Day.
it was awesome. We had a
And
great
the fathers
time.
that came over as well. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was good people, good times. It was good. It was great. Madness, but great madness. So I want to talk to you a little bit today about, we went live a few minutes ago on Facebook for a little bit of feedback, but we're talking about turning your passion into profit. And the subject came up for a few different reasons, like a few different conversations we've been having lately. But one I was having with a friend of mine, and she was saying how recently she left her job, which is crazy because, well, it's not crazy. It's just like almost ironic because she had spent years in one job, and they had just financial challenges in that company and had to lay off a lot of people. So
Happens all the time.
so for a while, she was looking for something new and found this job that she thought she was really going to love, and she hasn't been there very long and decided she really doesn't like where she is. So instead of staying somewhere where she wasn't happy, she just took the leap of faith and said, you know, I really just want to go figure out what I want to do. And it made you and I start talking about how like turning, like, so you find like you got to figure out like what you love, but then once you figure out, but that could be like a little too airy of a topic to speak on the podcast, like finding your why and what's important to you. Like everybody's heard that a million times before, right? But once you know what that is, how are you making money from it?
Right.
How do you turn that into
Well, why do you
a
need
business?
to? Why can't you just do what you love and the money will come?
Because that only takes you so far, right? Like, so for
I don't know.
years
I know
and
people
years,
that have executed that and just gone in like kind of blind faith and just been like, whether I'm getting paid for it. You know, one of the this is, you know, one of the tips that you hear over and over again is, what would you do if you didn't get paid? Like, would you do it for free? If you love it that much that you would do it for free, that's probably something that you could turn into a business.
Yeah, I mean, that's how we started getting into the podcast and stuff, was like we really enjoyed talking to people about business and marriage, and when people would come to us to ask us questions or advice, it was like really fulfilling to be able to share our experiences with them. And you can only hear so many times how much it's helping somebody before you're like, all right, let's take this out to the masses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's go help as many people as we can. And that passion like grows more and more all the time for us, where we, which we'll talk about in a little while, we step more and more out of our comfort zone with it, right? Because we've just been hermits for so many years. It's weird for us to open up and share so much, but it becomes less and less weird the more we do it, and the more people give us feedback.
Yeah, if you haven't watched, for my entrepreneurs out there, I know this is probably refresh, but if you haven't watched Steve Jobs' commencement speech, right, he talks about how important it is for you to love what you do, because no matter what the business is, the only thing that's guaranteed is you will fail, and you will fail over and over again. You'll fail more times than anyone else, but the ones that win are the ones that just keep getting up. And if you're not really excited about what you're doing, you're going to get knocked down so much, and that doesn't mean you're not making money along the way. We've got knocked down, and you eventually get to a point where you're like, it's not worth it. I don't love it that much, so you're going to quit. And so that's why it's important for you to be excited, be passionate about that thing that you are going to commit your 10,000 hours to and put that time into. So check out YouTube, Steve Jobs, commencement speech.
Yeah, and I mean, we were guilty with that for years. I mean, a long time ago when we were starting our business, it was, how are we making $1, right? And then it was, how are we turning $1 into $2? How are we turning 2 into 4, et cetera, et cetera. And then over time, it was like, oh, we don't really like working with this person, or we want to completely change our business model because we're not happy with the amount of hours we have to work. Or when we wanted to start a family, we had to change everything again, right? So that we were still, we were still catering to the things that were important to us, our non-negotiables, right? And being 2 present parents, for example, was very important to us. So we had started a company and been very successful at it, and then we decided to have kids, and we're like, whoa, though, we work
even before
insane
that,
hours right now.
The early years of building websites for the local insurance company or the pizza place or the CPA or the whatever, those local businesses, like, we could do the work, but it was not exciting. When we started meeting speakers and authors and experts and these thought leaders, they all need the same thing as your little mom and pop business, but it wasn't nearly as exciting as the helping these speakers, authors. So that was an early transition where we were like, all right, this is getting old, but we love the people who are around, we love that environment, going to events. So naturally, that was an early kind of change.
Yeah, it was
super important to be passionate about it. But there are ways, just being passionate isn't necessarily enough. You'll hear plenty of kind of motivational speeches or success stories about how,
get you pumped up, get your brain start
just do
moving.
It and the money will follow. And that does happen sometimes. But do you want to be one of the, do you want to increase your odds? That's what we're talking about this week, talking about a few ways to help, give you some things to think about. What do we got? 4 or 5 ways to be more purposeful. So in that, so take that passion and, be more purposeful about turning it into a profit. So.
Yeah, so the first one is it's really simple. It's find, avoid, and fill it. It's definitely something like, I know I've said this multiple times on previous podcasts about when we were going into business, this was more your lane. This was something that you were really passionate about doing, being an entrepreneur. And I was just really passionate about you. So I was like, yeah, what are we doing? Let's go do it. Mm-hmm. And I know you had such a look at he's like shrugs when I say I was passionate about you. For years, he did not like that. My why was our relationship, but it served you well. I'm still here. Yeah. I'm still here. Mm-hmm. What if it wasn't my why? I could not be here right now. So, but you were always very good about seeing what the need was in the market, and over time, like, we've evolved and grown our business where it is now because we were able to find the void and fill it. So do you want to speak of that a little bit more? I know, like, the first step is like start by self-assessing, right?
Yeah, you'll hear that, like, self-assessing is really like, what are you good at, right? What do people tell you that you're good at? Or, what is that thing that you're doing on the side, on the weekends, after work, that you're just doing because, like, you're genuinely curious about it, or you enjoy doing the work, or you just have a natural knack for it. So find those talents, or those gifts, whatever you want to call it, those skills that you have, and then write them down and then look out in the market. One of the things that I've realized in the last few years is another way to find those gaps is, do you find yourself talking to other people in your market, talking to other business owners, maybe other potential customers, other colleagues, and saying like, oh, I'm so frustrated with this problem. Oh, they're not doing it right. It should be this way. Mm-hmm. The more you find yourself doing that, and you're not like getting necessarily that feedback, like if that change isn't happening, it's probably because you were the person put here to do that.
Yeah, you need to go be the change.
Be that change and fill that void if you see the void that much.
So what we did back in the day, and what we continue to do even to this day when we're changing our business model up, is to just go out and start doing research. And it's one thing I have a little bit of a bug in my butt about in like our industry of the
Bugs
speaking.
in your butt.
Wow, in the speaking industry that we've worked in for over 10 years now is that it can be inspiring to be in that environment where a lot of people just go, yes, I want to be a speaker. But it's one thing to like say it or even know, hey, I'm passionate about hair, or I'm passionate about personal development, or I'm passionate about real estate, whatever the topic is, and just decide, hey, I'm going to go be a speaker. But if you haven't done your research, you don't know your market, how do you know how you're going to be better?
Who your customer is and what their needs are.
Yeah, and you have to figure out who are your top competitors that are in the best in the game, not only so you have a good example of what to model, because they've already carved the path for you. It's already there, right?
But what are they not doing?
But what are they not doing? How can you
or
go
what,
do it
what
better?
What could they be doing better?
Right, and what is going to make you stand out as well? Like, it may just be like, I know something that we get told a lot is that it's not Brandon or me, it's the two of us that comes and shares our information out to the world, and that there aren't that many young couples that do this. Now, I'm sure there's plenty of couples out there that do it, but they don't do it in the way that we do it, or they haven't been together for 16 years, or the woman isn't heavily involved in the business, or you know what I mean? Like, so what makes us unique? Well, we're young, we're hungry, we have nice things, we've done well financially, we're sharing those things. We have 2 kids, and we've been together for 16 years. And we have this passion. So it's going to drive us every day that we want to share the information regardless.
Find that need.
Yeah, and once you find the need, this one's a good one. You like have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Right. It's a cliche. You've probably heard it before. But it's true. You're going to start out, you're going to find those gaps. And part of finding those gaps is you're going to have those, you're going to ask those questions, or you're going to test something. You're going to start selling your consulting, or you're going to start selling a service, or you're going to try this or try that. And you're probably going to fail at it, or get rejection, or hear the no's, have relationships go bad, hire people that, go bad. All that stuff's going to be really uncomfortable. You're going to have to speak maybe. Like, I've never been comfortable speaking. And early on, I just had to get on stage and sweat my armpits out and turn red and have the whole crowd laugh at me.
No joke.
Because I knew, I just knew I had to get uncomfortable a lot. And
like when you used to get on stage and turn red, it used to make me uncomfortable. Because I could
sure it made
feel
everyone in the audience uncomfortable.
I could feel how uncomfortable you were, and it made me it made me uncomfortable. And I live with you, so I can only imagine how everybody else felt. So I had a conversation with a friend recently, one different than inspired this topic today, and they were just talking to me because they made some big life changes as well, and they were talking to me about how they're like, all right, I'm making all these changes, and I'm in this weird place right now where I've jumped out of the plane, and I'm floating through the air and soaring towards the ground, and I'm waiting for the parachute to open so I could be like, oh, okay, I got this and I'm good. And I challenged them. I said, you'll have a little sense of relief once that happens, but think about when the parachute opens, you still have to steer your way to the ground so you don't crash into a building or land on a busy freeway. There's never it's never gonna be comfortable.
As soon as it is, it's in
you've
your
settled.
Nature to
once it's comfortable, you've settled. Yeah, true entrepreneurs, I've never met one that was just yeah, I'm just okay with status quo. It's always I hit my goals. Now what are we doing? And it takes a little bit of, I don't know. For me, it's like a rush. There's a rush of excitement. There's a rush of fear. And then there's a rush of excitement. For me, that's the process I go through. But anytime we make a big change, I'm always a little freaked out for the first part. But who's not when they jump out of an airplane, right?
You know what it is, though? It's uncomfortable is related to pain, right? It's related to discomfort. And how do you get uncomfortable? Because you're doing something that you haven't done before. You're doing something that's stretching you personally, professionally, emotionally, whatever. You're being stretched. And like muscles, right? They stretch, they grow. So what you're doing is you're growing, and Anthony Robbins talks about it. We grow so that we have something to contribute. Well, the more uncomfortable you get, it forces you to grow. then you get better at that thing, and you're no longer comfortable. You're no longer uncomfortable. And what that does is it makes you stronger. It makes you stronger in that skill. It makes you stronger in your speaking. It makes you stronger. It makes you more like tough and resilient to, to do those things in business that you're just going to have to do, which makes you more valuable and makes you more successful. So it's kind of this, like, we were certainly more resistant to it, but now being uncomfortable is completely expected. Like, we're so like calculated for the most part. Like, we plan, we put all these things in place, but at the end of the day, we know no matter how planned we are and whatever like sense of security that we create for ourselves, we're almost guaranteed that we're going to get uncomfortable.
And that's why I said just get comfortable with being uncomfortable, because especially for myself as a woman, like in our house, we are the providers, but it's that old school, we have the old school way of thinking where like you are the provider of the house. Ultimately, it's your responsibility. If all shit hit the fan, excuse my French, like you would be the one to go provide while I took care of house, home, and the children. And that's the way it is in our house. But I have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable to the fact that, everything is always changing, and I can't always have like an exact plan that we're following, and you know what I mean? But what I will say over the years that's really helped.
Go punch a time clock.
Oh, no, thank you. But what I can say that's really helped over the years is, what's a time clock?
Yeah, whatever.
And that I think it's really going to help the people out there that do get that, like, those new feelings of like things are uncomfortable when you're first starting out something new, is just really having that faith that you are going to succeed. When you think about the analogy that I was sharing earlier of jumping out of an airplane and waiting for the parachute to open, there are very few fatalities of people that jump out of a plane and crash into the ground than people that land safely, right? If it was more people died than landed, I bet you parachuting wouldn't be so popular, right? So these people get in the plane and they soar up to whatever it is. What is it, 20,000 feet or something?
I think it's 10,000.
10,000? I think that's a minimum that you have to be to jump. Whatever it is,
they
soar a crap ton higher than I would ever want to jump out of a plane, and they open up those doors and they stare down at the ground and they take a deep breath and they jump, right? And
they trust that the parachute's going to come out.
Right. They just have the confidence that more times than not, they're going to succeed and that parachute's going to open. So the sooner you can not only get comfortable with being uncomfortable, but have the mindset that the parachute's going to open, right? Well, you got to have that confidence that the parachute's going to open.
Yeah, we're here telling you we've put many parachutes on and jumped many a times, and we are friends who are entrepreneurs and very successful business owners. We've all done it, and we've all lived to tell about it, so we're just letting you know.
Oh, and let me tell you, there's been some times where our like confidence in that has been challenged, and we're like trying to pull the ripcord and that thing's not opening, and we're starting to freak out thinking, oh my gosh, are we gonna plummet to the earth? And then sure enough, like something in our mindset shifts that goes, it's just something like in our blood, like, no, we cannot fail. And the second that we're like that, the parachute opens again, right? So it's seriously a lifesaver. Take that analogy with you everywhere. It's going to be my new favorite now because I really had never thought of it that way before. It's just kind of the way we always did it. But you also, this is something that I see a challenge with.
Number 3.
Yeah. Come on. You're so corny with that stuff. You got to be willing to put in your time. And this is something I know you're going to share a little, your doodad. You want to share the doodad first?
Just Malcolm Gladwell's, right? 10,000 hours.
Put you on the spot.
You got to put in 10,000 hours in order to master something. And if you want to question or challenge that, or you don't know who Malcolm Gladwell is, that's fine. Think about it this way. If you were to work 40 hours a week on your passion, on your talent, on your skill set, 40 hours a week, it would take you 5 years to master that. Now, what else do people do for 4 or 5 years full time in order to master it? A surgeon, a heart surgeon, brain surgeon, people get their degrees. So it makes complete sense that 10,000 hours is a pretty good, some people do it a little less, some people take a little longer, sure, but 10,000 hours is about 5 years of full-time work. Now, if you're not excited about that, good news is there's more than 40 hours in a week. If you work 80 hours a week, then
you can do it in half the time.
2.5 years. So if you have been doing something kind of on the side on your nights and weekends, and it's just not moving fast enough, or you're like, I've been doing this for 5 years, why am I not successful? Well, because you probably only have put in 2,000 hours. So you're going to have to make those tough decisions, or just know that you got to be patient for another X amount of time to really hit that like hockey stick moment where everything starts going up from there.
Yeah, and you know what I was saying at the beginning of this topic is where I see a challenge these days that really irks me is being around, you know, I'm like in between Gen X and Gen Y, but like you are considered a millennial. But when we talk to younger millennials, for the most part, there's a big...
Quick, fast, and in a hurry.
Yes, there's a big divide, and they're really quick to jump to new shiny bright objects, and they want to be free to do whatever they want, and they don't think that things take time. They don't think that things take work. And I don't want to say that every younger millennial is like that, but crap, it is like, we have seen it way too often where it's like, oh, I have to work that hard. I don't know if I really want to do it then. But I really want to challenge those guys to really figure out what they're passionate about. Maybe it's just age right now. You know, they're young still and they haven't figured those things out. But it's almost like a real shame when people, it's like this instant gratification that they need.
Yeah, you can't avoid it. It is a law, pretty much.
Yeah.
It is unavoidable. You will have to put in those hours, and you may not, you can deny it in your early 20s if you're a millennial right now, and that's fine, but there will come a moment where you go, damn, I should have listened, right? I should have listened to Malcolm Gladwell, or I should have been putting in the time earlier. We're trying to help those people make sure they do that sooner than later, because you don't want to be the one that gives your young, energetic, hardest working years to an employer, and then when you're 50 go, oh, okay, now I want to X. Now I'm going to start that business.
We had a few, young kids that wanted to come in and work with us and learn what we're doing, but it was always solely based on money, and those relationships just didn't work out because they really just wanted to hit the easy button, and there's just not. So now it's part of our hiring process, and it's part of our company culture that we had never adopted in the past when we were doing the same thing, right? We were just trying to get another buck, but as we've developed and grown and our business is growing, and now we're saying, don't take as long as it took us to figure these things out. You could be implementing them right from the beginning. And when we go to hire people now, we want to know, what do you want? Our plan is not for you to come punch a clock with us for the next 20 years. What are your long-term goals, and how can we help you get there? Because we want other people working with us that are just as inspired to want to reach their dreams and their goals. And maybe for the short term, they're with us. And it's almost like they have to get coffee or something, which it's not that bad here, but it's that kind of mentality. You're going to come, we're going to push you, and you're going to come put in your time. But at the end of the day, 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, when you're going and following your own passions, we were able to help them do that, and that's
a lot of smart.
And we got to hang out with good people with good mindsets along the way, which only motivates us even more too.
There's a lot of smart companies with larger staffs who look for, they call them intrapreneurs, right? You find those people inside the company that actually do want to go off and do their own thing. I was at an Infusionsoft conference years ago, and they were saying, the CEO was saying, it's your job to train these people to leave you. You're not supposed to just have all these, collect all these employees and just keep them all for yourself. If you're doing something to help them grow, they can put in their 10,000 hours. I mean, that's 5 years. Give 5 years to this company and let's help you go and be an entrepreneur. Or let's find a new department or a new product line or something that you could maybe even have some ownership in or share in the profits of the company. That's an intrapreneur, someone that stays inside the business but with that entrepreneur mentality and legitimately is sharing in the business. And is like a partial business owner. So
yeah, and so what I want to challenge everybody this week is to not wait till tomorrow to start taking action, or what you want is that important to you. It's time to start doing it now, right? Mm-hmm. Things are going to take time. Those 10,000 hours are not going to start, ticking away themselves.
Oh, more cliches. I got it. The journey of 1,000 steps starts with the first mile.
Life is a journey, not a destination. No? Doesn't fit here?
No,
oh, okay.
You got to take the first step. I also love I was guilty of this, right? Well, wait, I don't want to start until I know I don't want to go on that journey unless I can see the full route. Siri, tell me exactly the route.
You depend on Siri to get you everywhere.
Give me the ETA. Let me know how traffic is. Give me some alternative routes, some plan A, plan B, plan C, maybe.
That's a great analogy.
I want all that. If you can make all the traffic lights green first before I get on the road, that'd be great too. Then I'll take the first step. I have been guilty of that so much in the early years, for sure. And the reality is
that you were getting ready to get ready.
Exactly, because you want to know. Look, I don't want to wind up detouring, but that's the reality. I don't know who says it. I'll have to Google it, but travel as far as you can see, and when you get there, you'll be able to see further. I mean, that's how it really is. You just got to get on the road and get some movement and some momentum, and fail and take some detours.
So I wrote a blog about something similar last year when we were running a lot.
Oh, yeah?
And I was always looking down when I was running, always looking at my feet. So I wouldn't step on poop, by the way, which is another blog I wrote about, so I didn't step on poop. But what I noticed was when I was looking at my feet, I was literally only, looking 2 steps ahead, right? Just to make sure I didn't step on dog poop, not like...
Yeah, we lived in hang on. We live in a master plan community with trails, and people have dogs and don't like to pick up their dog stuff.
So not only poop, but we also live near a lot of lakes, and we're in Florida. So I didn't want to get eaten by a gator or step on a snake, which we had seen running too. So there were other reasons I was looking at the ground, but mostly it's because of the poop. But one day I just started going, Brandon would just be way ahead of me, and I was getting kind of competitive about it and sick of watching him run off, and he'd have the stroller with Peyton, and I'd be barely able to keep up. I'd be this is garbage. So I started looking up and just picking a target and being I'm going to run to that tree. And I would run and be well, I'm going to push as hard as I can to that tree. And then along part of the trail, it was bridge, pavement. So at one bridge, I would sprint to the next bridge, and then between the other 2 next bridges, I would kind of jog fast, and then the next one I would sprint, and my speed started catching up because I was always looking ahead at that next stop. So that goes with your just look ahead at where you're going. So what I want to challenge you guys to do is just think about one thing you can do immediately today that will start working towards turning your passion into a profit. Even if you're not ready to do it and you're scared to do it, just think of one thing you can start doing just to take that first step.
A couple of examples.
And then within the next week, I want you to think of 3 more things you can do. What's one thing you could do as an example? Well, so we have a lot of people that listen to the podcast that do want to be speakers, or because they know we have a lot of, or they want to go into real estate, right? So we have an extensive background in both real estate and the seminar industry. So my first piece of advice would be if you want to get into real estate, go start watching our free course on wholesaling, and start learning what you have to go do to invest in real estate, because you're not going to learn it if you don't go.
Yeah. Order your list, send out some postcards.
And then with, speaking, it's who else does what you already do, and just go start studying them. It's the simplest thing you could do. Just go start studying. Listen to their podcasts or go through their programs and start really learning how you're going to go put your value and your spin on things in the market and impact other people.
I'll give you a couple more things. Start an email chain or a text message chain and with some of your friends, maybe. Some of the people, your trusted advisors, right? Not just any Joe. Send a message to them. This isn't, these are small actions, right? Send a message to them and be look, I'm looking to start this other business in X topic or X whatever. Here's what I was thinking, or like test with your friends, get a little feedback from your friends maybe. Another thing you could do is send out some emails to potential customers. Maybe you want to start a business or start consulting or whatever. Send out some emails to those people and say, look, I'm good at this, or I'm whatever, excited about this, or I have a lot of background, or I work for this company, I've been doing this for years, I'm thinking of branching out on my own, or I'm thinking of offering this service. Would you be interested? Basically, just testing. Like, maybe I'm not starting for a little while, but it's an action. Or heck, you might even be like, hey, can we get on the phone? And you might get yourself a customer. Another thing, join a meetup. Whatever your topic is, if you're a coder, if you like building apps, go on Meetup, type in, like app builders or design or whatever. Find some local, get around other people who are actually doing it in your backyard. That's a big action. You'll find clients there. You'll find people who will push you. You can
also start interning somewhere, like part-time in your free time. That's another action you can take just to start getting more comfortable in that niche that you want to work in. That is exactly what we have somebody that helps us with some of our social media vision, and eventually, like, her big dream and her big goal is to go work for Estee Lauder, but she doesn't want to go do that for 2-3 years. She really wants to get some experience in the market and grow as a person in the process and stay close to home by her family. Like, those things are important to her. And so she's on board with us right now, and she's rocking it, right? So she gets that experience and kind of gets to get in and get her feet wet without having to, like, jump full force right away into it.
Yeah, so just with Sam's challenge for you this week, I would just advise, don't just watch a YouTube video or buy a book. Those are all important things, but
and take an action.
That's the equivalent
like a one step further action.
Right. That's the equivalent of, like, my Siri analogy. It's like you're getting ready to do something. No, like, pick up the phone, write the email, record the video, do the thing, go to the event, and you'll be pleasantly surprised, I promise. So
just to recap, which Brandon loves to do at the end of our main segments.
Hey, I'm just doing it for them. It's not for me.
Just a quick recap is 1, find, avoid, and fill it. 2, get used to being uncomfortable. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. 3, put in your time. Just plan for 10,000 hours, right? However you want to see it. You're going to do it 5 years. You're going to do it 2 years, whatever it is. Just get ready to put in your time and start today, not tomorrow. What one small action can you take today? What 3 actions can you take within the next week? And that's what we got for you today for turning your passion into profit. Awesome. And now we're going to move on to B's No BS Business Tips, which is not a smooth transition at all, but I'm making sure that we stay on track and don't go too far over an hour today. So I'm not even letting Brandon have a second to interject at all. Brandon's No BS Business Tips. I really love when you just take the lead on the questions that come directly into you. And so since you have that this week, I'm going to let you...
Yeah, so we have on one of our mastermind calls, someone had asked a question. They work for another company in HR, and they said they were basically asking, how do I get they have people on their team that work for them, and they set a deadline, and if they miss their deadline, then it has her miss her deadline and the people she reports to. So makes her look bad. So she said, how can I motivate people, or how can I get them to actually do what they say they're going to do? And we got some really good advice on that I just wanted to share. So if you're struggling with whether it's customers or employees or just other members of the team, how to get people to do what they say they're going to do, one of the biggest things I'd like you to check out is a YouTube video. It's a TED Talk by Dan Pink. It's called The Puzzle of Motivation. He basically talks about, for 10 minutes, he talks about what motivates people. And he has a book called Drive. It's awesome, so definitely check out those resources. But he basically gives some insights as to what pushes people, and it's not always what you think. It's not always the promotion or money. It can be something as simple as going out to lunch with a team member, or getting, you know, a pizza party, or, you know, having some sort of award or recognition that has nothing to do with, you know, money or even a promotion. So knowing what motivates people is really good, and Dan is the master at giving you insights on that. And then the other thing that we talked about was expectations. Managing those like, what are you expecting the person to do? And a lot of times they're going to tell you a deadline that they know you want to hear, right? But they don't necessarily know they may have unrealistic expectations on getting it done. So be clear on what you expect of them, and make sure that they're clear, or you know, the expectation is clear both ways. And then finally, one last tip for that was just having a midway check-in, which I thought was awesome. Like, of course, if someone says they've got a 2-week deadline, just check in with them in a week, like a text message, a gentle email, like,
gentle
hey, are you having
email.
A gentle email, you know?
Or you can come
hey,
in guns a-blazing like I do.
You having any challenges? Everything's still on track? You know, can you just kind of give me a quick report on how that's going? You know, are you halfway through? This is a halfway through point. And support them. And if they're like, oh no, I have been struggling with this, or oh, actually, you know, because I always told this to our team, like, you're telling me you'll have it done by this date, but if you need something beforehand, like, if you give me a week before it's due and tell me we need more time, I can manage that expectation. I can manage myself, I can manage the management, and I can manage the client's expectation. But if it's D-Day and it's not done, everyone's expectations haven't been met, and it's a mess for everybody. So that midway kind of check-in, I think, is awesome. So that's that.
Yeah, and what I've had to learn, because stepping into a leadership position, you know, you've taken that role for a very long time in our company, and as we grow more and more, like, I've had to step a little bit more into that position as well. And what I've noticed is that, like, when you want to be an entrepreneur, or you want to be a speaker, or whatever may have you, right? Like, you have to be okay to have difficult conversations with people, or and not even like be emotional about it or fear that what they're gonna think, but just like in a very black and white, to like help them grow kind of way. So what I think really works, because as you guys can all tell, I'm a very aggressive person. So I really am
strong.
I'm really like, I love you, so I'm just going to dish it out real to you, right? Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I have my expectations, and if you don't like them, like, you know, tough, right? But that only takes me so far. Like, there's a step further, which is just like making people understand, helping people understand not only gosh, they missed that deadline again. Gosh, they missed that deadline again. So I haven't been, it's another muscle I've had to flex a little bit. I used to send Brandon in to do the dirty work. Like, you go take care of this for me, babe. Like, I need you to go tell them why they need to get this done on time so that I don't freak out on them. But the reality is, as I do it more and more, I'm getting more comfortable with it. I'm really not scared of their feelings, even though I'm cautious of how they will feel ultimately. But instead of going in like, why are you doing this? It's more like, let's help make this better. And here, I want you to understand why I need this done on time. Like, when you don't have it done on time, I don't get it back to you on time, or edit, right? Like with copy as a good example. If somebody needs to give me copy to review, but they give it to me on a Saturday, copy like writing, so for like a blog post or something, right? And it needs to go up on Monday, and they don't give it to me till Saturday, and I've requested it for Thursday so that I have time to review it before the weekend, so that I could spend time with my family. The list goes on, right?
Yeah.
Now on Saturday, I'm getting it, and I'm I'm all of the above. I'm mad that it was late. I'm mad that I have to do this on the weekend instead of either spending time with my family, or I'm taking precious nap time that I could be spending with Brandon, not my own nap time, not like I go take a nap, but the kids are napping, and I could either be relaxing with Brandon or just spending a little quiet me time. Now I have to go like work, and now my work is unenjoyable because it seems like a chore, not something I'm enjoying to do. And when I've been able to just have real conversations like that with people, they're a lot more receptive of, the outcomes and stepping up to the plate more. So that's another one that wasn't on your list that I wanted
and it's
to throw
two
in
ways.
there.
You also listen and make them feel understood about why on their end, why it was like, oh, but I didn't have this, or I didn't have, okay, oh, I see that. Now, how can we help change that so it doesn't happen?
And ultimately, it is okay to set those, like enforce that a little bit and say, oh, great, well, you've done that 2 or 3 times and that's no longer going to be accepted, right? Like you can't do that anymore. So I want to help you, and it better be, something major for deadlines to continue to get missed, right? Like something like that. And no, there goes my like blunt and dirty, like nasty sounding version that does come out nicer when I actually say it. But since I'm like rushing to move on to the marriage minute right now. So I was like, let me just say it. And that's probably what goes through my brain before something a little bit nicer. And like, to take a step back and think about what you're going to say before you say it so you don't hurt people's feelings. I do that all the time. You don't have to do that. Like you naturally are just... How are you naturally so amazing?
I'm an empathetic person, I think.
Okay, let's move on to our marriage minute. We had a question come in on our Facebook, Middleton Methods page on Facebook.
What's the URL? You got it.
It is facebook.com/Middleton Methods. So Go like us and keep in touch with us over there. Go like us. Go give us a little like and keep in touch and help us gain our momentum on that page. Actually, we could really use your help over there.
Some different
people
things
are very
that are
used to just seeing things go on our personal pages, and we're working towards moving that over to our one combined page, so we don't have to keep posting things on 2 different pages all the time. It'll just really help us out. But we had a question come in. I think I'm actually going to lean on you a little bit for this question. I have my own opinion of it, but I want to hear what you have to say. So listen closely. This is a question for blended families, which...
What is a blended family, just for those listening that don't know?
A blended family is like when there's a divorce and then a remarriage, and there's, a husband and wife with children from their previous relationships. So in Willie Moore Jr.'s book, funny guy, check him out, Happily After All.
Great book, by the way.
There's a chapter in which he says his wife paid his child support for him. After having a conversation with an individual last night, I, the person that sent in this question, learned there are people that are getting married but will not have joint assets, like their house, bank accounts, cars, etc., for fear that they may get garnished by a third party when one or the other has children under 18. My question is this smart, quote-unquote, fire insurance, like a prenup, or sowing a seed for the negative to happen in the marriage?
I think they know the answer.
They know the answer.
The answer lied in the question. Yeah,
yes.
I think it's absolutely the latter. You're sowing a seed for the inevitable to
happen. So if you were talking with a friend and you said your opinion, and that's why you're bringing this to us now, your opinion, and I know who you are, and you're going through a lot of development right now in your career and your dreams, so I already know your answer was, this is sowing a seed for the negative to happen in a marriage. So ding, 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 you are the winner. Yep.
And why? Because we believe that when you're marrying somebody, you're marrying all of them, right? The two become one. Everything is now in the interest of the marriage, not Brandon individually and Sam individually, who just happen to share their things together. No, the individual dies, and you are now this new thing called marriage, and that takes all the good and sometimes some of the bad. I actually have a friend who married. He was in the military, and he had a bunch of debts and consumer debt and everything, and it was like the first thing they did, I think, the first year or two after they got married, was she was like, all right, I'm marrying you with all this credit card debt. And the first thing we're doing, they bought their house, and they're like, we are cleaning up your credit. And they cleaned up their credit. They weren't just like, here, your money is for your credit. No, it was all combined.
And we actually experienced that a way long time ago when we were dating, and we invested in real estate. and the market crashed and you had all this like credit card debt and mortgage debt in your name.
Yep.
But I didn't say like that's your debt. Like we were
Right.
trying to figure out that thing together from that point.
You kept a good credit score for the most part.
I didn't, because I had like a couple of bills that went south when I was like 18. It was minor stuff, but it had hurt my credit as well. But my credit was better, and my credit was way faster to repair.
You know what? Hang on.
But
That's a good
wait
point.
a minute. But when we got married, the market, the real estate market wasn't good. So when we got married, I didn't even think, like, for years it had just been us, and we actually had to rent a house for years and years and years because we didn't put off marriage, right? Like, but because I married you, like, I couldn't go get a mortgage.
Yep. So that's a good point. Like what we're saying is validated by the big three bureaus, right?
Yeah.
You know, when you get married, and the IRS, when you get married, they go, no, there's no two separate tax returns. You now file a joint tax return. So if the government looks at it that way, if the housing market looks at it that way, those are two pretty big deals out there. Like, that is what it is.
You know, the big man upstairs also looks at it that way.
Right.
So let's not forget
Depending on
that
your
one.
faith, right?
Yes, depending on your faith. But just as a quick thing, like, certainly if people, let's say, like, you're in that situation and you're thinking you're obviously not, like, that question poses that they're not married yet, right? Because they're like, does this pose a challenge? So you have, like, I'm writing the chapter about, I'm just going to share a quick story, and then you have, I think, one more thing.
Yep.
And then we gotta go. Okay. So I'm currently writing the chapter on money in our marriage book, and this chapter, I feel like there's so much that I want to put in here that it really hung me up for a couple of weeks. And now that I have the wheels turning, I'm going with it. And it's so crazy because I was actually just writing about this very thing yesterday, and I read, I'm like doing my research and I'm looking around, and I see on Susie Orman's site that if you have like debts and stuff, you should have separate bank accounts, and you should keep your debts separate.
Never liked Susie.
And
Sorry,
I was like,
Susie, but
this
I
is
just
garbage.
never
And I
liked-
just clicked right off the site. I was like, this is junk. I'm getting rid of this, because it really fired me up for a minute, because I was like, you don't marry somebody and go, hey, Brandon, you know, that's good luck paying that off. That's your debt. I mean, do you not understand, like, what you're bringing into the household directly affects me, and what you're not bringing into the household directly affects me. Yeah. So what you would want to consider more than prenups or how those things could affect you guys once you're married, whether it's jointly or not, is it the right time to get married? Like, do you wait till further down the line when you're able to clear those things up? Because right now, one person may have very good credit and one person could have really bad credit, right? It doesn't even have to be a blended family at this point. It could be any couple getting together. And one person could have really bad credit and one person could have really good credit. And these are things that we just blindly didn't think about before we said I do, which is fine, like, because it didn't matter to us. We were going to figure things out anyway. But we had to sit down and have, like, you should sit down and have these discussions about these things beforehand, right? And know your stances on money, be comfortable to talk about money with the other person, and be willing to do what it takes to help each other out. Like, you guys are a team.
Yeah, you're thinking about or your friend is thinking about the negative that they're walking into, right? Like, oh, I don't want your bad debt, or I don't want your potential liabilities, but I just want the good stuff, right? Like, you two become one. You're having now you have two incomes now instead of one. Or you have, you know, maybe they have a nicer house, or maybe they have a nice car, or like now you have two cars. Now you have, you know, like, there's all these good things coming together for their marriage, and you can't just like pick and choose. Like, all right, I want the love, and I want this, and you know, I love your kids. Our kids are now, we're a blended family, but I just don't want that piece, and I don't want that. No, you can't do that. Can't do that. That's for single people.
And it really isn't even for single people with kids because they have responsibilities and those little people depend on them too.
Hope that helps.
Yes. So before you wrap up our podcast this week, I wanted to throw something in there that I didn't send you notes for.
Uh-oh.
So I just want to say that for 2 days every year, I feel like a cougar because I'm 3 years older than Brandon.
Oh, jeez.
My birthday is coming up on Saturday, and Brandon's birthday is on Monday. And so for two whole days, I'm 3 years older than him then too. But so it's always this little joke in our household. But I did want to wish you a happy birthday. I wanted to let you know that overall, cougar or not, you make me feel young and alive, and I love you for everything you do for us. I hope your birthday is as great as your butt, and I can't wait to celebrate with all of our friends and family this weekend.
Oh man, your love language is words of affirmation. You're giving me all these shout outs.
I'll give you acts of service too. Don't worry about it.
I'm gonna have to step up my game.
All right. My gosh, we gotta go.
Couple quick housekeeping things, guys. Please help us get this shared more and more. You guys are doing a great job. Give us a star rating and a review on iTunes if you can.
Yes, that would be the best birthday gift.
Oh yes, that's a great idea.
Yeah, thank you.
And we have MiddletonMethods.com. So the notes from this, Sam does a great job of putting the timestamps so you can kind of like skip forward. If you want to refer back, you don't have to kind of guess where we talked about a certain thing. You can go listen to this episode on MiddletonMethods.com, move forward in the timestamps. We've got some extra articles there, other great stuff for you to check out. So check out MiddletonMethods.com. And what?
I want to just give a quick shout out. We haven't done Loyal Listener in a few weeks. Oh. And so before we wrap up our podcast today, I just want to give a huge air hug to our girl, Nikki Saunders. We love you. She has been a Middleton Methods podcast supporter since episode 1, numero uno. And she's also a friend of ours. So we have had loyal listeners coming that we've never met before. And so I've been like leaning towards sending them the gifts and the prizes for just being loyal listeners randomly because I want to show them how much we love and appreciate them. And then I thought to myself this week, this girl has listened to 25 podcasts of ours, and I thank her for listening all the time, and she makes it like it's no big deal, but your time is one of your 2 most valuable assets, and we just love you and appreciate you to pieces. Thank you so much. You are our loyal listener. Woo-hoo.
You're getting a Bentley. Right? Is that what we said this week? No? You get a car. You get a car. No?
Nice try. Now she's gonna text me like, "Where's the Bentley?" She's gonna give me those side eyes.
All right, guys. Listen, as you can see, like business is work and life is work. It's all work, and marriage is absolutely no exception. And we're not perfect at any of it. But we figured some stuff out, right? We've figured some stuff out. We continue to grow and stretch and stay outside that comfort zone. And we put in that work to make it work in all areas. So we hope this week's episode was valuable to you. You got some writer downers and some nuggets. So otherwise, take what you want. What you don't want, don't take. And we'll see you next week for another episode of the Middleton Methods podcast.
Bye.